You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Hello, welcome to the Hemp Connoisseur Radio Hour. As always, I'm David.
And I'm Jason.
And, well, Jason, how was your week this week?
Pretty crazy busy week this week.
Yeah?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're definitely picking up steam on the, with another division of the company, J&D Distribution for the cannabis energy drink.
Mm-hmm. I love that drink.
Nexus Meds is doing very well. We got, we got a ton of new products on there that that we're pushing out to market. Yeah. Which is Nexus Meds, for those of you that don't know, is a sister company to the Hemp Connoisseur. Mm-hmm.
We're representing over 500 edible products now for dispensaries to purchase.
Yep. Want to throw out a shout out to Ridge. He's a new sales rep down in Colorado Springs, and so far doing very, very well.
Great guy.
So we're happy to have him as part of the team. And as always, Jay Brown in Denver and Tom Moschino in Boulder and mountain areas.
That's right. No, man, we're really blessed with a great team on that side of it. And then, of course, we have all of our great staff on the Hemp Connoisseur. The Hemp Connoisseur magazine, everybody's been eagerly anticipating the next issue. We had a little bit of delay to print it, but it is coming out next week. So you guys can be looking for it on the 7-Elevens, all the doctor's offices, tattered cover bookstores, and of course all your local dispensary. So definitely pick it up. It's our political version. I'm really proud of the cover we have on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the cover is going to cause a little controversy when it comes out.
You think so?
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, we did a little commentary. Picture says 1,000 words, and the commentary is about the fact that neither one of our candidates have actually mentioned or brought up, at least voluntarily, about the medical cannabis industry or the hemp industry and its emergence.
Well, I do have to say that's actually not true, because Romney has a while ago came out and said that he's going to shut it down.
Well, yes, but he didn't voluntarily say that. That's what I'm saying. I mean, they only bring it up if it's been mentioned by somebody else. In fact, I remember an interview with Romney when he was in Colorado, where he was asked multiple times about medical cannabis, and he finally answered, "Don't you guys have anything better to talk about?"
And I believe it was with a man that was in a wheelchair, actually.
It was. Oh, that was a different one. Yeah, there was a gentleman in a wheelchair. You can look this up, and I think it says "Man in Wheelchair Confronts Romney About MMJ." You can go to YouTube, and he basically tells him, he's like, "Look, I have this condition. In order for me to function, I need medical cannabis." And Romney, of course, right away goes, "Well, have you ever tried the synthetic marijuana?" He's like, "Well, I have, but it makes me sick," which is a common occurrence for people who've tried Sativex or Marinol, that the synthetic form makes people sick. And Romney's like, "Well, I'm not for MMJ." And he's like, "Well, my question is, are you going to arrest me or my doctor for taking this medicine, or my doctor for prescribing it?" And he just kept saying, "I do not support medical marijuana." Mm-hmm. The other thing that I find incredibly interesting was once Romney was confronted about hemp. Industrial hemp. Yeah. And he basically had no idea what industrial hemp was. He thought it was marijuana, which is a common occurrence, again, in our politicians. I wouldn't say all of our politicians, but definitely a lot of the ones that get confronted about it, especially someone like Romney, who, I mean, they just show that they're clueless about it,
Right, and although industries are bigger than one person making a decision, Romney has come out openly and said, "I will shut down the medical marijuana business." Yeah. Across the nation. Although he doesn't have complete power over it, he can definitely make people's lives a little bit more difficult. There's no question about that.
He can make people's lives more difficult. I would agree with that.
But before we get into the political debate,
because I love talking politics,
and because there is some stuff going on down in Pueblo, which is a little bit sad with the fire that's going on down there. Did a little bit of search on the site of how hemp can actually help with restoration of fire areas, and I just want to give a shout out to Jason Love with Cannabis Health News Magazine. Dave, the website is cannabishealthnewsmagazine.com. Huge fan of Jason Love, one of the biggest advocates for industrial hemp in Colorado and across the country. Across the nation. He helped write Bill 1099, which allowed for a study to see the phytoremediation usage of hemp for cleaning out rocky flats. Yep. And again, we've mentioned this before, but phytoremediation, great big word. So, but it's amazing that when when the conclusion comes down and it shows that that hemp
does clean the soil behind it, which
from radiation,
from radiation, which has been proven in Chernobyl. I think it's really gonna open the eyes to a lot of people on what this plant actually does, because farmers will be able to use it.
And this is just one little thing the plant does, but what Jason speaks about in Cannabis Health News magazine, and you might think that we're competing magazines because we're the hemp connoisseur and Cannabis Health News, and we're not at all. We're huge friends with Jason Love and all of the work that he does, so we always try to support him in any way we can. He's actually written an amazing piece in this next issue about the Dust Bowl and how hemp could help prevent a new Dust Bowl, because we are on the verge. A lot of people don't realize that with all of the droughts that we've been having, we're on the verge of another Dust Bowl in the United States.
Well, and I believe the federal government has acknowledges it also.
But this piece by Jason was really timely. It was done on August 2nd. So, but we feel like because of the fires going on in Pueblo, that it's really something to talk about in the fact that hemp can heal forest fire damage. And so, again, this is coming from Jason Love, so we do want to obviously give him credit for it. But, he talked about the High Park fire burn area in Fort Collins, and then also the Waldo Canyon in Colorado Springs, and how disastrous it was for the soil. We could speak about what happened to the soil. So
basically what happens is that the temperatures in a forest fire can get up to about 600 degrees Fahrenheit, which just it just vaporizes everything that's in place right there, but it really destroys all the nutrients that are in the top part of the soil.
Yeah, it does. It becomes barren. It becomes what is called hydrophobic soil, or
also known as non-wettability.
Non-wettability, because it doesn't really take the water. What happens is if it rains, that soil erodes and just washes down, and so now it poses a lot of other problems. And that's what happens. The Gazette in Colorado Springs actually said the soil takes over as a top threat after the forest fire. And because rain washes over the topsoil, and the result of the ash-filled runoff are floods and landslides.
Well, and the reason that it doesn't happen before a fire happens is before a fire happens, not a forest fire happens, is because the roots on the ground are actually holding everything in place.
Exactly.
Well, when you go back after a forest fire, there's no roots. It takes a while for plants and stuff like that to grow. Well, hemp actually will have a stable root system in place within 3 weeks.
Yeah, it creates that strong carpet of roots, and it stabilizes the soil, and it helps mitigates the damage to the erosion.
Right. It'll give the opportunity for the trees to go ahead and at least start growing back. The vegetation on the ground, which takes longer than 3 weeks to grow back. Even at the point, even with it illegal right now, people should look at go ahead and growing hemp on these burn areas, even with the intent of going in and cutting them down after it happens, just to keep the soil in place. Now, hopefully, with Amendment 64, which is part of our political section in this, during this hour, we are going to get into the other side of Amendment 64, which is the hemp side of 64, which has kind of been neglected based on everything that's going on with the fighting back and forth between yes on 64 and no on 64.
Well, and it's understandable. I mean, really, 64 was designed with the cannabis as a recreational, like alcohol, first, and for lack of a better term, marijuana is a little sexier for the headlines. Hemp is so much more utilitarian. It takes a little bit more to talk about in its usage and get people to understand the differences between marijuana and hemp, that it's not as easy to have a soundbite about hemp to talk about it. So it's much easier to get into the debate of, yes, let's legalize marijuana recreationally, or no, it's bad. But it is one of those things that a lot of people don't realize, is that hemp is slid into that bill, which I love that they did that, to allow for farmers to start growing in Colorado and help boost our economy on a whole other level. Everyone's talking about the marijuana side and how it's an excise tax, and and it's going to help for schools and everything, but they're not talking about,
which is great,
which is absolutely great. And there's arguments saying that, well, because the Tabor law here, that that tax isn't really effective unless the people vote for the tax. So there are some inner debates about that particular piece that I don't really want to get into just now. But again, nobody's really talking about the hemp side of this bill, and I think it's really important to talk about it, because I think that alone, for those of you who are on the fence of, wow, we should legalize it recreationally, or no, we should keep it as a medical,
I really want you to think about the fact that we're also, if you pass 64, you're legalizing hemp production in Colorado. You're helping out our farmers. You're creating a drought-resistant plant. We're increasing revenue for Colorado just on the hemp side. Whether we could even wipe out the recreational side of the marijuana and just talk about the hemp, and that alone makes it valuable.
Yep. Well, and also looking, I mean, we've always preached that there's 25,000 uses of hemp, which there's actually really about 50,000 uses of hemp. And as this plant becomes more and more popular, I mean, you probably can't tell right now on camera, but we're wearing hemp shirts.
Yes, we are.
Which are part of the hemp certified line, which you can get on www.thcmag.com. All right, there you go.
There's a shameless self-promotion we always do.
Yep. But anyways, I just want to take a step back real quick on this on the fire, and then we can kind of move on to what we need to do. Yeah. Is that people don't realize that when a forest fire happens, it actually is raising the temperature of the earth in the area that the fire was done.
Yes.
Which then pushes off also rain.
Yes.
Okay. And all of this, NASA's done research on this, so this is all facts. You can get onto you can look this up for yourself, but with it reducing rainfall, it compounds the issue by leaving the burn areas dry and barren.
Yeah.
And so with the fact that that hemp doesn't need a lot of moisture to grow, it definitely will get the soil. First of all, it will bring the temperature of the earth down quicker by growing this product.
Yes, it will.
It also absorbs more CO2, about 500 times more than a normal tree. I believe it's 500 times more.
Yeah,
I'll do a little bit more on that, but I believe it's 500 times more than the normal tree will go ahead and do. So it definitely decreases the temperature of the earth faster, which then makes it so that the rain can come in and grow more vegetation on these, on these mountainsides. So
and it's a process. I mean, forest fires do happen naturally, although most forest fires are man-made nowadays. Even though. But over time, plants do regenerate. The growth resumes. Plants, all the soil microorganisms, soil fauna break down the hydrophobic layer. But the thing about that is hemp can initiate this process in weeks in what would normally take months for other plants. So we're talking about regenerating that soil and making it more useful again, or making it healthier again, in a much shorter period of time by utilizing hemp. And again, there's no other plant out there that can do it like this. It comes from us like really going, okay, how are we going to improve these issues? What's the most logical way to do it? And we need to get past that bias that our country has overall when it comes to the hemp and the cannabis plant. If I told you, without saying the word hemp, that there was a plant that was going to help save that soil in a much faster time period than any other plant out there, should we grow that plant? You would say unequivocally, if you knew about hemp or not, absolutely. And then all of a sudden I say, but it's hemp. And then they're like, oh, whoa,
no, that's illegal.
That's illegal, So again, it's just one of those things. It's like it's all about education out there, and and it's for you guys as well. Is we're going to try to impart as much of this information for you every time we do the show, but it's also up to you, the listener, to go out there and pass on this information. That's all we feel like we are here at Hemp Connoisseur Radio, is a portal for information to help you guys educate the general public with us. This is a movement that we're a part of, and we just feel like we're part of the vocal box about it, but it really takes everybody out there educating people on a regular basis. Not everybody is going to pick up the Hemp Connoisseur to read it and learn more about hemp.
Not yet.
Not yet, because there's a bias about it when they look at the magazine. They're like, oh, great, another cannabis magazine. I'm not interested in it. So it is really up to everybody out there who is either a fan of our magazine, the radio show, or just an advocate for hemp and medical marijuana to be out there and informing your friends, your family, people that are already negative about this plant because of the misinformation campaign that's been going on for years. It's really up to everybody to be out there and inform them.
Well, and the fact that yes, the information is definitely good for sure. But even going back to what Amendment 64 is and how, obviously there's 1,000 political ads on the radio, and I absolutely love the political ads.
I do too. Well, to an extent.
Yeah, to an extent.
Yeah.
But they do have the one out there with that police officer that was with the Denver Police Department for like 30 years or something like that, and he's an advocate for supporting Amendment 64, but I was also meeting with some friends here recently that are police officers, and every single one of them are voting yes on 64 because law enforcement just thinks it's absolutely ridiculous that they have to enforce marijuana.
There's such a gray area for them. It's a great point you make, Jason. I know we have to go to a break in a minute, but I just want to make this quick point. I've talked to Denver police officers, and it's one of the things I ask them when I have an opportunity to talk to them. And I do. I for the most part, I love Denver cops. I mean, yeah, you can make that argument. There's always good and bad people. There's good and bad cops. There's good and bad people at every job. But when I talk to them about it, they want it to be legalized. Whether they can really publicly say that out loud, they'll be like, hey, off the record, because they know them. Editor-in-chief of magazine, they don't want to really say anything on the record,
right.
But they'll say off the record, absolutely want to legalize this thing because we're dealing with a gray area on the medical side. And when we stop somebody and they actually have they have marijuana in their car, whether it's medical or not, they're afraid to deal with anything because they're like, it's such a gray area with them right now. Now, yeah, there are different cops around, in different towns. Colorado Springs is the one that comes to mind where they're incredibly tough on marijuana. In fact, to the point where, history has proven that they're very unfair and they're violating laws by going after these guys. We do have to go on a break, and we will be back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Amendment 64 on the hemp side of the bill.
Nice.
And so thanks for joining us on Hemp Connoisseur Radio. We'll talk to you in just a moment.
Dixie Elixirs, the patient's choice for alternative medical marijuana treatment, brings you Dixie Botanicals all-natural topical therapy, including massage oil, pain relief salve, and our newest product, Dixie Botanicals Pain Relief Lotion. This all-natural lotion pairs beautifully with Dixie Botanicals bath salt for a deeply relaxing experience with no psychotropic effect. Like us on Facebook, Dixie Elixirs, or join us at www.dixieelixirs.com.
The law offices of Edson Maton and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
The Hemp Connoisseur is Colorado's premier guide to hemp culture. Our mission is to elevate the image of the medical cannabis and hemp industries to create widespread acceptance for all of the uses of the cannabis plant. You can find the Hemp Connoisseur in over 200 7-Elevens, your local dispensary, MMJ doctor offices, and tattered covered bookstores. Also, visit us online at thcmag.com or download our brand new app for your smartphone.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it on grass. Runongrass.com. You're listening to Hemp Connoisseur Radio on iCannabisRadio.com.
All right, we are back. Thanks for joining us today at the Hemp Connoisseur Radio. So we just said before the break we were going to talk more about Amendment 64 and the hemp side of the bill. So I'll let you lead this one off, Jason, since I talked too much.
Yeah, no sweat. There is obviously we've said already a couple times on this show that the other side of the Amendment 64 is the hemp side of it.
Yeah,
And although, yes, marijuana and Amendment 64 is at the forefront of everything right now, Amendment
because it's sexy.
Because it's sexy, like me. On the other side, the other side of it is the hemp side of it. And the hemp side of it actually is, in my opinion, the more important side of it because of what it does for America.
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine if, with all the agriculture in this state right now, you're really only with the strip cropping. You can grow a crop on one area, and then the next year you don't grow. You alternate, and then the next year you alternate. Well, imagine if you can go ahead and have your strip of corn and have your strip of hemp.
Yep.
The next year you just reverse those. Well, now you're utilizing it. You're utilizing two cash crops. Which now the farmers can go ahead and capitalize on it. But at the same time, it makes the soil more fertile for the next year's crops.
Yeah.
So then, eventually you get down the line, but also with that, it pulls us out of the dust bowl that we're heading down right now, which we've already mentioned today.
It is. And you know what else is nice? I mean, we talked about phytoremediation when it came to the radiation in the soil at Rocky Flats.
Right.
But the other thing that happens is if you're growing hemp within cycles of other crops as a farmer, it's easier to get to that organic rating that you need to get to because the phytoremediation will also soak up those pesticides in the soil into the hemp plant and cleans that soil out faster so that the farmers can get to the organic rating quicker, because it takes time to go from being a cropland that utilizes pesticides to getting to that rating of being organic. So this helps them get to that point faster. It would allow for more of our farmland to be utilized organically. So, one of my biggest complaints, I love, obviously I like to use organic produce because it's, it's better for you, but it's very hard to buy organic when you're on a budget because it's not cheap. It's more expensive right now because just the way that the agricultural quote-unquote machine has been developed over the last 20, 30 years, it's really difficult for those farmers to backtrack to organic. It takes time. It's a lot of effort, painstaking effort, and it's more expensive for them because of that time period it takes to get to there. But hemp will allow them to get to that point faster and can help bring the price of organic produce down. In fact, organic produce should theoretically be cheaper, and so I think this is one of those gateway possibilities by utilizing hemp, like you're saying, Jason, in the cycles of crops. And I know you come from an agricultural background, so I love hearing your opinion on these things. But it helps them get to a much faster standpoint of being organic, and it'll bring that price down.
Right, but that's just the first step in what it's going to take to go ahead and boost so many other industries in America.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, the farmers are going to be able to capitalize it, but what about the companies that are going to have to be developed in order to process this plant after the seeds and everything have been pulled out for food or for extraction, like cannabis energy drink, for example. It's made with hemp seed extract,
but it's coming from Europe.
Right now, and you know what? I have family that comes from Europe. It's nothing against them, but we have the ability to go ahead and do it here, but it's illegal. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, we're the only industrialized nation that doesn't grow hemp, but we bring in how many millions?
$400 million at minimum every year is imported in that the United States spends on those imports for hemp. When that money could be going to our farmers. And here's the other thing, and I think that's a perfect side. There's another side to that coin. I mean, we're talking about increasing income for our farmers, lowering the usage of water, lowering the usage of pesticides. So we're bringing their costs down. We're allowing the farmers to make more money on their crops and have an extra growing cycle in there for whatever they're growing. I mean, those seasons don't necessarily grow all year long, but you can supplement that with a hemp crop on the same field. But then on top of that, you have the fact that, like you said, the hemp plant is not ready to go. It's not like I just plucked it and now I can make my oil, I can make my fabric, I can make my fibers, I can make my plastics, I can make my biodiesel. No, then what you need is you need to have the infrastructure to create it. That infrastructure means jobs. Yep. That means I need a plant that is going to take the hemp and turn it into oil. I need the plant that or turn it into paper and have paper mills. Now you're talking about more and more jobs. Now, and this is why it really excites both of us, I would say, on the Amendment 64. Amendment 64 on the medical cannabis side, absolutely it means jobs. It means an increase in the economy here in Colorado. But you know what? A lot of those jobs have already been created by the medical side.
Yep.
So while we're talking about probably thousands of jobs that will be created when it comes to that, we're talking about even more thousands of jobs coming in just by legalizing hemp. Now you have all these people that were out of job. You're talking about manufacturing and industry. They're able to come in and be in a company that can produce it and refine that hemp plant.
But they don't even need to be in Colorado. We can legalize it in Colorado and grow it in Colorado if the federal government doesn't do it. But imagine shipping those plants out to Detroit or Pittsburgh or any of these other places. So, but yeah, you're going to have farmers in Colorado capitalizing on this crop. Mm-hmm. But imagine what it can do by shipping that to this other states, because it's not illegal to. I mean, once the plant is grown, it's not illegal to have hemp here. So
you're right.
Imagine what it can do for other states on top of it.
Well, and it's really funny that you mentioned Detroit.
And I think we skip a little segment there, but
That's
you know,
all right.
but you know, when you mention Detroit, you know, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, and I believe we probably mentioned at one point or another here, is that there are car companies in Europe that are utilizing hemp in the framing, in the dashboards. Lotus is one example for BMW. I think Mercedes is also looking at it. There are a lot of car companies that are looking at hemp composites because it's lighter weight, it's stronger, it's something that you can utilize to build your car, and instead of using plastics and as many chemicals and poisons that are being used. So now let's talk about the fact that if we're growing hemp in the United States, of course I'm saying in Colorado first, Washington also has it slipped into their bill, but we start growing hemp here, now we're making and manufacturing a product that can be utilized in our cars here in Detroit. Now they can bring the costs down. They're having a more bio-friendly car with that usage. And you know, it's amazing what hemp can do. And I said we're skipping to another segment that we had in order of what we were talking about, but I think it's perfect segue. So it just kind of happened that way. Henry Ford and the hemp car. You know, I mean, we've mentioned it before. Of course, I'm going to mention it again.
The thing with Henry Ford, actually, and a lot of people don't know, but Rudolf Diesel is the person that invented the diesel engine.
Yes, he did.
All right. Well, the thing with the Model T, as most, pretty much everybody in the car, in America, has heard of Henry Ford and the Model T.
Yes.
It's.
If you haven't, you've never been paying attention in school.
Do research, right? Yeah. For sure. But these vehicles were not designed to be initially were not designed to be run off of gasoline the way it was done
your
today.
regular petroleum. You know,
they were going to be made. They were made to go ahead and run off of hemp, fruits, vegetables. That's what these vehicles were done. But and again, you guys can look this up on the internet. Just do a search for Ford and diesel never intended cars.
Yep.
But I mean, it's just absolutely amazing how it came about that. And a lot of it has to do with the oil companies stepping up and paying a lot of money to go ahead and get hemp made illegal in the United States.
Always follow the money. That's what I always say. You know, you want to find the truth of something, especially in a capitalist society like ours, you follow the money. What was the reason for getting rid of hemp? The reason was because it's a resource that can be grown by farmers. You're talking about multiple people having control of a resource as opposed to just the few. The few have the control of drilling for oil. It's not an easy prospect. You and I, Jason, cannot go out with a pickaxe and a shovel and go find some oil. But we can grab some hemp seeds and we can plant that, and then you have a refining plant that can make that into hemp biodiesel. And now you have a resource that the country can be in control of as an agricultural product. And Henry Ford did that. His first Model T was made from hemp. It was the composite he made was stronger than steel. There's that great black and white video of the Henry Ford hemp car with him banging an axe on the back of that trunk.
Yep.
That axe is bouncing off of the trunk and not even leaving a dent.
No damage.
Yeah. He made that product from hemp grown on his own field. And the car itself, while it was being made from hemp, was also running on hemp biodiesel.
And also, just to be clear, at that time, hemp was legal to grow in the United States.
Of course.
And so a lot of people were growing it. However, at that point, did it take alcohol in order to produce?
Well, there's two methods of creating the gasoline. There's ethanol, which most people are familiar with the bio, and that is a fermentation process that would be considered an alcohol process.
Right.
And then there's methanol, which does not require the alcohol or the fermentation process. So it's actually cheaper to produce, does the same exact thing as the ethanol, and hemp can be made from either way.
Well, here's where I was going with that question, is that the oil companies stepped up to the federal government and they increase the tax on alcohol to make it too expensive for people to go ahead and make fuels out of not just hemp, but the fruits and vegetables and the things that were, probably put on this earth to be made into these fuels.
Well, and I know we've talked about this, and sometimes people might say, hey, you guys repeat yourself, but you know what? We always have new listeners coming in, so I'm sorry if you guys feel like we're telling you the same thing, but maybe it's just driving things home. But you know what? As an alternative to petroleum, hemp is pretty amazing. You know, first of all, it can grow from border to border in America. So the idea of an oil shortage is almost, it wouldn't happen. If we're running low on oil because of production, we increase the production of hemp growth in the United States. And unless we run out of soil, hemp is renewable. So we got plenty of land here in the United States, and it doesn't, create pollution. It actually cleans the soil. You're not digging down below and fracking when it comes to natural gas, which is obviously a lot of people in Colorado are aware, does destroy our groundwater. I mean, there's those instances where you're able to light unbelievably to me, you can light your water on fire in some places in Colorado because of the fracking.
And the oil that's used that's manufactured from the hemp plant that's eventually going to be used into biodiesel. Mm-hmm. If there was an oil spill, mm-hmm. it becomes fertilizer for the soil. It doesn't destroy the soil.
Yeah. Oh, God, we had a hemp oil spill. Oh, my God.
Go grow your corn.
Go grow your corn. It's like, are you kidding me with this? It's like, BP, British Petroleum, for that massive mess up in the Gulf. It would have been a non-issue. Well, first of all, they wouldn't have been drilling for oil in the Gulf if we were utilizing hemp. But let's just say we were shipping hemp biodiesel to another country. And then there's that boat has an issue and there's a leakage. Well, it's biodegradable. It's not even an issue anymore. I'm not saying it's perfect for the ocean, but I would.
But it's not bad for the ocean.
But it's also not bad for the ocean. And I think that's the biggest thing is it becomes a fertilizer, not an eco catastrophe.
Yep.
Biodiesels, this is any biodiesel. This isn't just hemp biodiesel. Of course, we're fans of the hemp biodiesel for more than anything else. But it doesn't emit as nearly as many noxious emissions like carbon monoxide and hydrocarbons. It just radically slashes them. It's non-toxic. You pour gasoline over your hands, it's not going to be a very good thing for your hands, but
it does clean paint off pretty good, though.
But it does do that. But hemp fuel, you get it on your skin, it's a mild skin irritant. It does, anybody who's ever cleaned out an old carburetor with gasoline confirm that it's not the same for petrol. It's pretty corrosive. It has a lot of damage to it.
And I do have to interrupt here is that we do have to go to a break, and Dave can talk forever and ever and ever. So I'm going to let Dave take us to a break.
All right, we'll see. We'll talk to you in just a few minutes. Thanks for joining us.
Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
The Hemp Connoisseur is Colorado's premier guide to hemp culture. Our mission is to elevate the image of the medical cannabis and hemp industries to create widespread acceptance for all of the uses of the cannabis plant. You can find the Hemp Connoisseur in over 200 7-Elevens, your local dispensary, MMJ doctor offices, and tattered covered bookstores. Also, visit us online at thcmag.com or download our brand new app for your smartphone.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
Dixie Elixirs and Edibles, the nation's premier infused product manufacturer, brings you the newest in hemp CBD wellness products, Dixie X. Derived from CBD for medicinal hemp, this non-psychoactive cannabinoid provides the medicinal effects of cannabis, but without the high. Join the Dixie X revolution today at www.dixiex.com or like us on Facebook, Dixie X or Dixie Elixirs.
All right, we're back. And, before we left for the break, and as Jason said, I could probably talk forever about this stuff, we were talking about Henry Ford and biodiesel and the hemp car. And, I think we're going to use this as a really perfect segue to get into my political discussion I want to talk about. But, we recently had the third presidential debate. And it was funny because a lot of the comments in the third presidential debate was, well, it was a foreign policy debate. Americans don't care as much about foreign policy as they do about domestic issues, but I think that they're always tied together. And Obama and Romney, to some extent, did talk about the fact that foreign policy is tied to domestic policy. And, and protecting us. And, just to continue the conversation we had before the break about the hemp biodiesel, one of the issues we have with the Middle East is our need for foreign oil. And we're always talking about increasing domestic oil production, which of course talks about drilling, and then talks about using government land to drill and more pipeline, which, the pipeline thing I always have an issue with, because really we export more gasoline than any other export we do in the United States. A lot of people don't know that. We'll import oil, or we'll produce oil from the United States, and then we refine it into gasoline, and then we export it. And by exporting that gasoline, it keeps our gasoline prices up.
Right.
And that's something a lot of people don't realize. But we also do still need foreign oil.
Right.
And where is all that foreign oil at? Middle East. Mm-hmm. Now, we have some in Venezuela, which we don't have the best relationship with the Venezuelans right now to be able to tap into that. But because of that, I think we have to pay way more attention to the Middle East and what's going on there, and keeping our hands involved in the Middle East, which obviously causes turmoil or tumult, as Romney kept saying in the tumult. Yeah.
I hate when we have so much tumult over there.
Yeah, I know. It was weird usage of that word he loved. But, if we're producing hemp biodiesel, first of all, we'd be able to export it and make money on it that way, and it's not as costly to produce and export, so it would really help out. But also, we do not need Middle East oil anymore. So it is when we talk about this as a domestic and an economic issue, it is a foreign policy and it is a national security issue as well. And if you were really serious as a leader, President Obama, or as a wannabe leader, Governor Romney, you would be paying attention to biodiesel. And and that's one of the things that is upsetting about this whole campaign. And like I said, check out our cover of the next issue next week. You'll see that what the commentary we made on that is just it's not being mentioned, is the fact that we could be protecting our borders by growing hemp. And I find it interesting that we're so focused. We always talk about the Middle East. We talk about the fact that we're trying to help the unrest. There's more problems as far as genocide going on in Darfur and in other places, but we don't go in there. Mm-hmm. We don't mess around. We don't send our military in there. And the reason why we don't...
They don't have anything we want.
They don't have anything we want. Exactly. And again, going back to follow the money, follow what does our country need to keep moving this machine that we have, and oil is the thing that we need the most.
But even the Middle East oil is that I don't believe as a country we need that oil. I think there's enough resources here in America. Mm-hmm. We're growing enough resources in America because we're capable of doing it. The technology is already out there doing it, mm-hmm. that we could cut them off and be okay. It's just a matter of actually pulling the trigger, mm-hmm. and doing it and forcing ourselves to become energy independent before it's actually going to happen.
And it's one of those things, I actually used a quote from this. Neil Armstrong just recently died, first man on the moon. And I actually talked about this in the letter from the editor in the magazine. I'm not sure if you got to read the proof of it or not. But when I brought up a quote that John F. Kennedy said. He said, "We choose to go to the moon not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Because by making a gargantuan effort, now I am paraphrasing him, by making this huge effort to go to the moon, it is going to propel our country forward in a lot of ways." And it did. You could say, okay, it was a race to the moon because of the Cold War with Russia. Well, whatever it was that caused it, and I was not born at the time in 1969. I'm not quite that old, but but even still, it was something that was very impactful when I found out about this as a child. Well, we've been to the moon, we had the space race, we did this, and it was this move where he just said, "Look, within the next 10 years, we're going to be on the moon." Didn't know how it was going to happen, but he still did it.
But somebody held that person accountable.
But they held it accountable and they made it happen. And I think that's one of the things that I really wish I saw from our leadership. Mm-hmm. And I'm not just talking about our presidential leadership, because let's be honest, the president has a lot of power, but it doesn't have all the power. But he's still limited. It's really Congress that has most of the power. And people always seem to forget that every presidential election. People lose their civics lessons in the United States on a regular basis. It's not required learning anymore, which drives me crazy, that you're not required to know how our government works. So everybody thinks budgets and all that is based on the president. And it's not. But I would love to see that from our leadership, saying, you know what? In 10 years, we are going to become energy independent.
Put a timeline behind it.
It's always 30 years. It's always 40 years. Oh, we're going to reduce emissions from cars, and Obama's very proud of this, and I'm glad there's movement. I think it was something like 35 miles to the gallon.
Yep.
Really, 35 miles to the gallon? Why is anybody impressed with that?
No, but back then, nobody was getting 35 miles a gallon. Like, it was like, oh my God, 35 miles a gallon?
Right.
Is that even possible?
Right.
And what, in 3-4 years?
Yeah.
Now we're getting there?
Well,
I mean, imagine if you brought it up. I bet if we said, okay, you got to get 70 miles to the gallon.
Easily. We could do it.
In 4 years,
I guarantee
it's going to be done.
If we made it required in every car, we could do it. And I guarantee you, everybody would be buying American cars if American cars were getting 60, 70 miles to the gallon.
Think about this. If you could get 60 to 70 miles per the gallon and you only paid $1.37 a gallon for hemp.
That's true. We love that number. $1.37 per gallon. It was a study in 2005, I think. If we did produce hemp biodiesel, so that might have gone up now because of inflation and all. But
think
even
about
still,
the savings and what that could be used in our economy to be purchased for flat screen TVs,
whatever you want it to be.
Paying our producer Chris.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'd pay him with more than just Snickers bars. It would be really helpful for him. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, one of my favorite words is panacea, means cure-all. Mm-hmm. And, I know people say, oh, you've drunk the hemp Kool-Aid. Well, I have, and I want you to too, because it is a panacea. It is one of those things that can solve all these issues. And we're just talking about hemp as a biodiesel right now. We're not talking about any other usages of it, but as a biodiesel itself, I mean, all of these things are possible. And if we just had some leadership step up and say, we're going to be energy independent, we don't know how it's going to happen, let's see what happens in the next 10 years. I guarantee you hemp biodiesel is going to come across their desk as a solution, and they're going to look at it and be like, holy crap, why haven't we looked at this earlier?
Yeah, but if people think that the people in the government are not smart enough to figure out how we can become energy independent, then there may be no hope for you.
Right.
Because it's there.
It is there. It is there. And so, again, I want to talk a little bit more about the debates. I'm not trying to change the subject or anything like that, because we were getting on the politics of it. And we did talk about the foreign policy about this and what biodiesel could do for, our national security, I think, too. But what did you think of the last debate? Well, you know what? We didn't talk about the second debate, but I guess we're going backwards. So what did you think about the last debate?
Well, I was actually at my son's hockey game for the first half of it, but I did get there for the second half. And there was a couple points, during the debate where Obama looked right into the camera and spoke as a president and not somebody that was trying to attack somebody, the opposition.
I think that's a good point. I felt Obama looked more presidential in this debate than he has in all three of them. Again, foreign policy not as interesting to a lot of Americans, but I think incredibly important. And what I found interesting, and Obama pointed out, I thought he did a great job of this debate, and I thought he did a great job the last debate, and I thought the last debate he was a little bit more scrappy, and I think he needed to be to show that he was alive and had a pulse compared to where he was in the first debate. But he was very presidential in the way that he presented it. I felt like Romney really didn't have a lot to stand on in the fact that all he was saying was, well, I wouldn't have done anything different than you did. I would have done it faster. And it was like, how are you going to do it faster?
Right.
All of these things takes a process. It takes time for diplomacy. It takes time to lay out these rules, these sanctions for Iran or different, it takes time to figure it out. And you don't just jump to conclusions. We're not in a George Bush administration anymore where they're just like, oh, well, we want to attack Iraq, so we're going to come up with some excuses to do it, and we're not going to really verify it, and we're just going to tell everybody, yes, we have evidence as weapons of mass destruction without actually verifying it.
Right.
I think the thing with Libya, could it have been handled better by the Obama administration? Probably, but at the same point, how much better would it have been handled?
Yeah, you can always make that argument. It doesn't matter what the event was.
Yeah.
It can always be handled better.
Always. It's so much easier to
handled worse, but it can always be handled better.
Much easier to be the challenger than the incumbent and be looking at it from the outside. I thought one of my favorite points of the debate, and I think it was a lot of people's favorite points, was the discussion of military spending.
Okay.
I do love that. The fact that Romney's like, I'm going to spend another $2 trillion in the military, which, again, nobody's ever figured out how his math is working out to do that with cutting taxes and all that. And Obama's saying, well, why would you spend more $2 million when they don't ask for the money? I mean, I know in our company, if we were like, well, we have a marketing budget of, let's just say, $5,000 a month, and
why don't we go spend 10 or 20?
Well, and and our marketing people come up to us and say, well, we don't need $5,000 a month to accomplish the strategies that we have. We need $3,000 a month. But we're going to be like, no, we're still going to give you $5,000. No business in their right mind is going to do that. Mm-hmm. So for somebody who's a businessman, as Romney says, to go ahead and say, well, I'm going to give this department more money than they're asking for, even though they don't want it. I love the moment when he was talking about the Navy, and he's like, oh, well, we need 300 more ships. And Obama's like, well, you do know that we have these things called aircraft carriers. And these things that they go underwater called nuclear submarines. We don't need as many ships as we did. The Navy's different nowadays. Right. The Navy is just a moving Air Force, in my opinion. It's an aircraft carrier that travels.
Transfer equipment around.
To me, the Navy's job is to deal with those international waters. It's a staging ground for in case we need to defend any of our allies.
Right.
But who needs destroyers? How many sea battles are going on? Let's be honest. We're not in World War II. How many? Even pirates. God, we have. I remember the footage of the pirates. A year or two ago. I know there are pirates out there. There are. But what did we do? The Navy had some. Had an Air Force carrier that staged it for our special forces guys. Those guys they sniped dudes from a distance and then they landed on them with a helicopter. How many ships were involved in that? 1, 2.
Right.
Again, there's no need for destroyers anymore. We have planes. We have jets
the drones.
And I just love that he was like, "Oh, do you want horses and bayonets too?" It was great. I thought he did an awesome job.
If you can't tell, we're Obama supporters.
Well, let's get back to it. We do have to go on a break. We're Obama supporters, but there's a caveat to that. Right. So we'll come back and we'll talk about that. All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
Dixie Elixirs and Edibles, the nation's premier infused product manufacturers, brings you the newest in hemp CBD wellness products, Dixie X. Derived from CBD for medicinal hemp, this non-psychoactive cannabinoid provides the medicinal effects of cannabis, but without the high. Join the Dixie X revolution today at www.dixiex.com or like us on Facebook, Dixie X or Dixie Elixirs.
Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
The Hemp Connoisseur is Colorado's premier guide to hemp culture. Our mission is to elevate the image of the medical cannabis and hemp industries to create widespread acceptance for all of the uses of the cannabis plant. You can find the Hemp Connoisseur in over 200 7-Elevens, your local dispensary, MMJ doctor offices, and tattered covered bookstores. Also, visit us online at thcmag.com or download our brand new app for your smartphone.
You're listening to Hemp Connoisseur Radio on iCannabisRadio.com.
All right, we're back. And so we just finished the break. We were talking politics, one of my favorite subjects in the world. And we were talking about the fact that, we're Obama supporters. But, we do have a caveat to that. Obama has not been the best friend of medical marijuana.
Right.
And this is one of those things where I would say it's a lesser of two evils choice when it becomes Romney or Obama. Romney is unequivocally against medical marijuana. Maybe partially because he's a Mormon. I don't know. It's part of his culture. It's his faith.
You're going to start getting a lot of emails based on that comment right there.
I probably will. I'm not knocking the religion at all, but obviously he's coming from a faith-based background. I'm not saying that Obama isn't, but he's coming from a background where pretty much you're not allowed to imbibe in alcohol, tobacco, and marijuana being thrown into that mix as well. And I think that Romney has showed his ignorance of the cannabis plant when he didn't even understand what industrial hemp was.
Right. And when it comes down to the candidates, also, I have to admit that I was really a middle of the road. I voted for Obama in the last, when he got elected.
I've been disappointed.
Yeah, and I've been disappointed also. However, when facts are showing that Obama's been right in the debates and Romney's been wrong in the debates on certain issues and facts that he has coming out, and the fact that he's willing, and it's definitely part of politics that you try to jump on somebody when they misspeak or something along those lines, but when he tries to jump on somebody for misspeaking or for what he hears, and then the facts come back and prove him that he's wrong, even based on the misspoken. And for example, it was in the second debate when Obama had said that he had the talk in the Rose Garden admitting
the act of terror.
Yeah, the act of terror, and it was a mistake out of Obama's mouth in the moment that he spoke. But the facts show that what was said was correct.
Well, no. It was a mistake out of Romney's mouth because he said, "You never said act of terror." And I did say act of terror. Sorry, I just want to correct you on that. But I think that, look, Obama has not, there was the Ogden memo sent out saying basically during Obama's presidency, obviously still in the last 4 years, saying, as long as if you're a medical marijuana business and you're within your state's regulations, we're not going to mess with you. Well, they have violated that memo, and that is upsetting. And there have been a lot of people in the medical marijuana industry that have become very mad at Obama for it. It doesn't mean that they've become Romney supporters, because, again, Romney has been pretty much unequivocally saying, I have no interest in medical marijuana and I'd like to get rid of it. And so a lot of people in the medical marijuana industry have become great big fans of Gary Johnson. Who I love Gary Johnson. I know he's been a guest on iCannabis Radio for Overgrow the Radio, and Stickman's been a great fan of his, and I am as well. I think he's awesome. I think he's great for the movement. But let's be honest.
He's not going to get elected.
He's not going to get elected. So if you're in the medical marijuana industry, you really have to choose between one of these two guys. Do I like the two-party system? Absolutely not. I think it stinks. I hate the fact that we have to choose between a Democrat and a Republican. I actually would prefer a no-party system, which every politician is independent, because then Americans would be forced to actually listen to their politicians. But when somebody says, I'm a Democrat, I'm already like, okay, I know where you stand. Or I'm a Republican, okay, I know where you stand. I don't have to think anymore. And I'm tired of that. I want people to have to listen and really make informed decisions, because there are Democrats out there that can be fiscally conservative or socially conservative or vice versa, and the same thing with Republicans. But because they're Republican or Democrat, it's almost like, and there's been quotes of Republicans and Democrats being asked about an issue, and one of them would be like, well, where do we stand on that? Who the heck are you asking? Where do we stand on that? You should know where you stand on that.
But going back to this industry right here with the medical marijuana, and he does that a lot. With the medical marijuana side of things, unfortunately, if you voted for Gary Johnson, you'd be throwing your vote away, which could potentially elect Romney.
Yeah.
And if you're coming from this industry, although none of them are probably too that great for the industry, Obama is less bad for the industry. And it stinks putting it that way, but it's the way it is.
But there is that advantage, all right, that we'll have with Obama coming back in. Okay, Obama's not going to be running for re-election if he's re-elected, because that's his final term. Right. So he's not going to have to straddle that middle road just to make sure he's elected. So my feeling and my hope with Obama for re-election is, if he's re-elected, we're going to see a little bit of a more progressive president than we have seen. I mean, he is a moderate president, and I have no problem with having a moderate president, as long as he's leaning a little bit more towards the progressive side. But I do think that you're going to see a little bit more of...
He'll put his neck out there a little bit more and really stand up, I believe, for the United States.
I agree.
People.
I do agree. And it is a hope. And,
And change.
Yeah, I know. I knew that was coming. And yes, have I been disappointed by Obama? Absolutely. I've been disappointed by him. I'm more disappointed with him in the beginning of his terms, because when he was elected, he did have, the option or the ability to basically, say carte blanche, these are all the changes I'm going to make. I have a Democratic Congress. I'm elected. The people have said, we want this change. And he was too busy extending that olive branch. That to a fault. I appreciate the fact that he extended the olive branch. As soon as it got slapped away from him the first time, he should have been like, you know what? F you guys. I was elected to make change. This is the change I'm going to make. I'm not wasting my time with you anymore. Now, he did not have a filibuster-proof Congress. They were able to do a lot, to stop a lot, and they utilized it to its fullest extent. But there's still a lot of things he still could have done.
Right.
And he could have appealed to the American people on a more grander scale in his first term to help push these things through.
Sure.
So that's where my disappointment lies.
Well, and the thing, too, is that, and I hope that, everybody out there realizes that things take time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we learn it with the magazine and with our businesses that stuff doesn't happen overnight. I mean, he started out with, his first month, 800,000 jobs were lost.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't just click your heels together and say, okay, now I'm going to create jobs. I mean, it takes time for the momentum to take off, and it is increasing. I mean, 31 to 32 months of increased job growth. To try to stop that now, I feel would not be good for the United States.
Yeah.
Now's not the right time to be changing the policies that have been put into place because the momentum is picking up.
It is. I mean, and that's the problem with, the United States as a whole is we want everything right away. We're so used to immediacy in everything we ask. Oh, it's not happening fast enough. It's not happening fast. Yes, but it's moving and it's progressing. Do I wish that the economic machine was building up steam faster? Of course, everybody does. But it is still moving forward. There's no reason, and I do like that their campaign is forward. Let's keep moving forward. Let's not slow it down. Let's not change the policies that are moving us forward. I think that's one of the problems that we have, though, in the United States. We just want things to happen faster than they are. But you know what? One of the things I wish I saw more from Obama, and it's just not the type of person he is a little bit more of a pragmatic usage of analogies. I mean, when he talks about how it does take time, and everyone's like, oh, well, 4 years ago, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? No, probably a lot of people are not better off than they were 4 years ago. The economy is better off than it was 4 years ago because it was in what they call free fall. But, the way I look at it is, and these are the kind of analogies I wish you did. If I have a house and it burns down, it's going to burn down in a day. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to destroy things. It takes no time whatsoever to destroy things.
It'll take you a couple of months to build it.
It takes some more time to rebuild that house.
Yep.
It is the same exact thing with the economy. Much easier to tank and destroy our economy in a very short period of time with certain policies than it is to rebuild it and build it back up.
Right.
So for people to think that in 4 years you can turn us away from what was assuredly a depression that we were going into being back to where we were in, let's say, the Clinton era, it blows my mind that people think that that's going to happen. Yeah. It takes longer to build than destroy.
And yes, Dave, we both love politics and we could talk for hours. However, we have about 4 minutes left, and there is one last 3 minutes left now that we do want to get in with just real quick on some stuff that's going on with Monster Energy Drink. Do you have any final things on the...
I could go forever on politics.
I know you
so
can, so let's not go there.
So we'll move away from that.
So a lot of people out there know right now that there's been a big thing going on with Monster Energy Drinks and the caffeine and the 5 deaths that have been associated with it. So we as a company, repping Cannabis Energy Drink for Colorado and Wyoming, tried to do a little bit of research on some of the ingredients that go in there.
Yes.
And one of them was taurine. And when people think of energy drinks, they think, oh, bad. They can't be good for you, those sorts of things. So, and I was that way too until I started doing a little bit of research. But a lot of the ingredients that are put inside of energy drinks are good for you.
A lot of I will say this, all right? We have to say this ahead of time.
Yes.
We're not out there promoting that energy drinks are good for you. There are the ingredients in the energy drinks that are good for you, but there is obviously other things in those energy drinks. And obviously, Monster Energy Drink, and we're not here to knock Monster Energy Drink. They're obviously going through some stuff right now. And I don't think it's any company's intention to harm people's health.
No, and look at how many millions of Monster Energy drinks have been sold on the market. I can't even imagine how many millions, and not only have 5, because one is bad, but so this is not a rip on Monster whatsoever.
No.
But it did make us aware that, hey, let's look into this and see a little bit more. So the cannabis energy drinks, and they are going to market. We have businesses picking up this product every single day. We are in back order right now, which is a great issue to have.
It is a good issue to have.
But we wanted to bring the hemp side of things into the cannabis energy drink.
And just to clarify, it says cannabis energy drink because it comes from Europe. And in Europe, they do not differentiate marijuana from hemp. Everything is called cannabis. So I just want to clarify that there is no medicine or medical marijuana in the cannabis energy drink. It is a hemp-based product.
So it can be sold anywhere.
Yes.
But I know Chris had a couple questions or wanted us to speak a little bit about some protein and stuff like that inside of the
the hemp protein. I was just wondering a little bit about that. What are the benefits from the hemp protein?
And then, that's a good question. We did cover this a little bit in a couple of radio shows ago, but hemp protein is actually one of the most easily digestible proteins out there. It is a complete protein as far as vegetable protein, like soy, although soy does tend to have some digestive problems for people. It can cause bloating.
Yes.
It can actually, thank you for the sound effects. It can increase...
He's good for something.
It can actually increase estrogen levels in men, and most men would not favor that, I myself being one of them. And there are a lot of allergies that can be associated for people with soy. And we did do the hemp versus soy thing, but hemp protein is a complete protein. It has all the essential amino acids. It's an antioxidant. It's easily digestible. It also is a detoxifier. And so you have all of these great benefits with hemp protein. And, the cannabis energy drink itself has 50 milligrams of hemp seed oil in every single can. And one of the things that has happened with that is, it's funny because it has similar tasting to Red Bull. It does have a lot of the same ingredients. There's no lying.
I think it tastes a little bit better than Red Bull.
I agree. And we're not saying this because we're biased. We're batting 1,000 as far as taste testing with people, blind taste test between
Red Bull. Red Bull's good. But
it's smoother. It doesn't have that weird rocket fuel taste or that aftertaste that Red Bull has.
And I think a lot of that has to do with actually the sweetness that may come from the hemp seeds itself.
Yeah, it's got a sweet, nutty flavor in the oil, and it does. It mellows it out. When you pour the two next to each other, you're looking at that and okay, this is going to sound kind of gross when I say this, but most people who have ever seen Red Bull poured, it has this kind of cloudy urine look to it.
Yes.
It looks like an unhealthy urine.
It looks like it glow in the dark.
Yeah, it does. And the hemp has a much clearer look. It actually just looks cleaner, and I really do. I would attribute that, of course, because that's the main difference between the two in the formulas is the 50 milligrams of hemp seed oil.
Yep.
And it does. It smooths out the flavor. It makes it cleaner, and it doesn't have that weird color, cloudy, unhealthy look to it.
And we do have a list. I know we're running pretty short on time right now, so I wanted to shoot through this list real quick of all the benefits of hemp seeds. Though, and you can get these at Natural Grocers, Vitamin Cottage, any of those sorts of places. But,
awesome flavor to it.
Yeah, and they can be sprinkled on salads and eaten for breakfast or whatever. But they are an excellent source of fatty acids, including omega-3, 6, GLA, and GLA in the perfect balance. All right, they're more digestible protein than meat, whole eggs, cheese, human milk, Dave likes, cow's milk, and other high protein foods. They're rich in vitamin E, and they increase energy levels and metabolic rate, which definitely is key in the energy drink because the energy drink itself is going to increase energy levels itself with the caffeine and stuff like that. So it's just an added benefit in there. They lower blood LDL cholesterol levels. It naturally lowers blood pressure. It improves cardiovascular circulation and function. Improves organ function. Improves immunity levels. So I'm not telling you not to go get your flu shot, but maybe the answer is consuming some hemp seeds.
I don't believe in flu shots.
I haven't gotten them for years and years and years.
I took it once and I got the flu, and never again. And
we're not going out there telling you not to get a flu shot. If that's what you do, go get one. Fine, but I've just never gotten one.
Hey, Chris, the next one's for you, buddy. It reduces symptoms of PMS and menstrual cramps.
Oh, nice,
nice. So for all you guys out there, please, you might want to just slip a little bit into your wife or girlfriend's.
I'll be nicer to Jason when he gets home.
That's right.
It reduces inflammation and symptoms of arthritis, improves recovery of muscles after exercise, reduces and treats dry skin and hair conditions, reduction of many degenerative diseases through preventative measures, and it also can be eaten by those unable to tolerate nuts, gluten, lactose, or sugar.
Yeah.
And there are no known allergies to hemp foods.
Awesome.
Well,
So-
it's amazing that there's all these benefits to it.
Hemp is the shit.
As Chris just put, hemp is the shit.
Is that the first curse word we've had on
that is
on
the
our
first
radio
curse
program?
word we had? But we're not worried about the FCC.
We are
here.
pulling his mic away.
Yeah. He's no longer allowed to talk.
We
But
need a mute button.
and I want to just say this. I'm somebody who is a regular fan of juicing.
Yep.
As you know, Jason, I'll do, my girlfriend and I, Jackie, will do a juice cleanse for 5 to 10 days every couple of months or every 3 months or so, and love doing that. It really helps clean out your system and makes you feel really refreshed, and actually it shrinks your stomach a little bit so you're not eating so much food, and it actually makes your taste buds enhanced, so any food you try after that actually tastes better because you're cleansing out all this other crap you've been eating. Well, one of the things I hadn't been doing, which is amazing to think about, is I was juicing, but I was just juicing when I was doing that. I wasn't adding any proteins. So I started doing the juicing where you're macerating all the juices, and then I would just throw it in a blender with some hemp protein. Basically, I used the Nutiva hemp protein, get it at any GNC or anything, any kind of spot like that. And as soon as I did that, I did notice a marked difference in energy. I mean, and I think, you probably noticed it too, Jason, and that I wasn't so cranky, because I get a little cranky the first couple days of the juicing, because I like my caffeine, and you get a little caffeine withdrawal. It gets you,
I wouldn't call it cranky, but I mean, there's a couple other words.
There's a couple other words, but maybe that's what it was. It was helping my PMS from not my post-meat syndrome, because I wasn't eating any meat.
Yep.
But the hemp protein really did help balance me out. It helped give me more level energy throughout the day, along with the juicing, and it really made I noticed the difference.
Yeah.
I also noticed that, like I said, the energy level was different. It was more sustained throughout the day. So I'm a big fan of that. And Nutiva does a great job with their hemp protein products. I highly recommend it if you're somebody who works out and you do the wheat protein shakes, or you do soy protein or any of that. Excuse me. I definitely recommend. Go ahead and try supplementing or replacing it with hemp protein for a month and see how you feel.
Yep.
It'll make a big difference.
Yeah. So if you guys are looking for some places to pick up the cannabis energy drink to help drive some of our supporters, because we will actually be giving back a little bit of some of the proceeds that are generated from this, is that Garden of the Gods here in Denver just picked it up, and this is a medical marijuana center. Castleman's has it, which is where are they located?
Castleman's Bar and Venue. They're on 26th and Walnut. That's actually where we had the Cirque de Cannabis party.
Yep.
It was so successful there that Adam, the owner of Castleman's, was like, "Oh, I'm definitely going to carry this." Yep. The bartenders loved it, and they push it all the time for them there. But we also have Greenworks. Greenworks has 3 locations.
You can pick it up
medical
there.
marijuana, especially you can pick it up there.
Down south, the farthest center south that carries the products is Durango Healing.
Yes.
Shout out to Dave
west.
down there. Yeah. Okay. Southwest. All right.
Yeah.
And then Acme Dispensary up in Crested Butte also carries it up there. So.
Yeah, and this is only because we only had about 12 cases to sell. There's 450 cases coming in the next couple days, so you're going to see it in a lot more places very, very soon. Very soon we expect you to see it in any local convenience stores, liquor stores, places like that. And like Jason said, some of those proceeds, what he did, I just want to expand on that. Some of the proceeds of every can of cannabis energy drink is going to be donated to help further hemp legislation in the United States.
And legalization of
you can go ahead and support Red Bull, and that means you're supporting, the X Games, which everybody loves, or, people to be able to do the longest free fall from, the outer stratosphere. Or you can go ahead and support our farmers by purchasing the cannabis energy drink. It's the reason why we got involved with this, obviously, is it's hemp-based. But we also got involved with it because it's a company that does believe in the movement of hemp in the United States and across the world, and they want to give back and help for that movement. And so that's why we're really about this, Jason, is because it is helping support the same thing that we're in mind with at the Hemp Connoisseur. And we're proud to be a part of a company that is giving back to help promote
hemp growth in the United States.
Yep.
I know we have to go. We've probably talked way over time. Chris is like not. He's like,
Chris is already filling up his book bag.
We're like 8 minutes later. He's like ready to bolt out of here because he's got to get to class. So look, thank you so much for joining us today on the Hemp Connoisseur Radio Show. As always,
I'm Jason.
I'm David.
Peace,
love, and hempiness.